everybody. Welcome to today's video. Hope you all are doing well. It's been a couple weeks, so let's see if I remember how to do this. First, I'm going to do a little introduction here. Hope you, speaking of introductions, enjoyed those photos ahead. That will give you a little taste of what's coming up at the end of the video. So here's the plan for this video. I'll do this intro. I'm going to do a rant about Fujifilm stuff. I'm going to do a rave about some Fujifilm stuff, and then I'm going to do an update about what's going on and the plans for the future here, and then you'll get some photos from a nice frosty morning in January in the Bellevue Botanical Garden. So that's the plan. So I'm trying to figure out how all this is going to work in my new configuration of life with getting weekends back. I'm pretty jealous of protecting my weekends right now, so a little reluctant to do some extra stuff, even as much as I enjoy this YouTube. It's kind of nice having 2 days in a row where I can do chores and catch up on some other things. So we'll see how this goes. My plan right now is probably to do every other week or so for videos, probably 2 a month, sometimes maybe even 1 a month. We'll see. Your thoughts and suggestions are always welcome. All right, so that's the intro. Let's talk about the rant. The rant is about my frustration with Fujifilm autofocus, which is nothing new. Since the X100 came out long time ago, people have been frustrated with Fujifilm's autofocus performance, specifically around when they added it, tracking of subjects. This is true even up to the 5th generation cameras introduced in 2022 with the XH2S, which is the camera I use. And part of the reason I bought that camera was it was the pinnacle, theoretically, of autofocus performance in the Fujifilm ecosystem. Most of the time, I've not been frustrated with autofocus at all. My camera is currently running firmware 7.1, and Fujifilm along the way, each time there have been loud voices about autofocus performance, have said, we'll make it a fix in the next firmware. Version 7.1 is what's current and latest as of the time we're recording on the XH2S, and I've mostly been pleased. I haven't, in my recent experience, haven't really had any autofocus issues. But I know street photography does not present a lot of the problems that folks have encountered with Fujifilm autofocus. So I haven't been terribly frustrated. I haven't been terribly noticing the experiences that other people have, especially the loud voices online. Until the subject of this video, the photo subject, which was going to the garden and creating some photos on a frosty morning. One of the cool things that happened that was a fun surprise is there were a bunch of hummingbirds in this one tree, and it was almost at eye level, and there were 4 or 5 of them flying around, and they would land on this branch and they would go feed in this little area. So it was a wonderful photo opportunity. Hung around there for about 15-20 minutes clicking away. So for the most part, things went well. I have lots of photos that are sharp and in focus of the hummingbirds, and I'm really pleased with it. Was using the XF70-300 for my lens, mostly between 180 and 300 millimeters. Shutter speed was 1/500th of a second. I was using continuous low drive mode at, let's see, I was 5 frames per second on that. Aperture was around f5 to 5.6. And ISO was 160. The sun had come out. And let's see, what else would you like to know? You would probably also like to know what autofocus I was using. So I did have bird detection activated, and I also had wide tracking on. So that was my settings. Let's talk about the experience. Most of the photos were just fine until I got to this one point where I was photographing a hummingbird in flight. I know it's a technical challenge. And I was just cranking away on the photos, and I did a 6-second sequence. So I have about 30 photos, 5 frames per second times 6 is 30. And all of a sudden, after about 3 seconds, the autofocus just said, I can't see anything anymore, even though I hadn't moved and the bird really hadn't moved. I'm going to show you those photos next. So let's switch over to there and I'll show you the sequence. Again, here's my settings I was using, so you can have that in front of you visually if you're a visual learner. So here's photo number 1. So you can see the situation here. Photographing a hummingbird in a tree at about 185 millimeters, and he's doing the feeding. She's doing the feeding. It's a neat neat little moment. Really enjoyed this. I'm using these 2 tree branches and some leaves in the foreground to create some depth and interest, also to create a little bit of a frame around the bird. And I think that's what's going to create the problem. So let's walk through. We're going to go to about 16 photos. All is good. Doing well. We lost a little bit of focus here. Back to focus. So I don't know what's going on here. Autofocus, to be honest, is magic to me. So I'm glad it works, but I do have some frustration. So we're going through these, working well, doing pretty good job. This one is one of my favorites. This is a pretty neat moment too. As you know, if you're photographing objects in motion, you pretty much have to use a continuous drive mode because you can't click at the moment you want. You have to be before and after it. All right, keep going, all's good. Good, doing pretty well. And then here we start losing focus. So the bird is not in focus anymore. I haven't really moved. The bird has moved a little bit, but not very much. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what happened. You can see it's focused on the leaves to the right a little bit. And it's lost the bird. And continuing through the sequence, so that one's about photo 17 where it lost focus of about 30. And then where the rest of the photos is just going to struggle. It can't find the focus anymore. It really can't find focus on anything. So I'm not sure what happens. What causes the autofocus system to just say, okay, I was working fine for 3 seconds, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm looking at anymore. I think one of the complicating factors, and I've experienced in other photo situations, are those fine vertical elements in the front of the frame. Especially on telephoto lenses, I've noticed my XH2S will struggle to focus behind those kind of usually branches or twigs or sticks in the foreground. It struggles with that. So I don't know if all of a sudden it just said, ooh, branches in the front, let me focus on that, or I just can't see the bird anymore because of those branches. I'm not 100% sure. But it's really frustrating. One of my goals in the near future was to do some more bird and wildlife photography, especially with the upcoming, well, I hope to get an XF 500 millimeter before too long, and birds and wildlife would be great for that. But I'm not 100% confident that the autofocus is going to perform the way I want, to the level of expectations that I have, realistic or otherwise. To be honest, I haven't used any other camera system. Even though I work at a camera store, I don't really have the ability to borrow other cameras and try them out for extended periods of time. I've tried them a little bit in the store and they seem to work just fine, but I know that's not the real world. So I'm at the point where I want to spend some time with another camera system, and the one I'm looking at is Nikon. For a variety of reasons, it's a rant for another time. Canon and Sony, even though their autofocus is probably the best in the business, at least from what I've heard, the cameras just aren't a good fit for me. The systems aren't a good fit. Again, another time. Nikon is the most interesting camera system to me as an option for, if I'm doing special purpose photography for wildlife or birds that I might consider. And I would keep Fujifilm for street. We'll see what happens. I don't know. It's not like I'm made of money. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. So that's the frustration. The autofocus performance, I've experienced it firsthand now. It's probably the most frustrated I've been in making the photos. Again, we're spoiled. We live in a time where all the stuff that we use is so technically advanced, and we've heard stories about what autofocus can and should do, that when it doesn't quite do it, we get frustrated, or at least I do. So that's my thoughts. I know I could spend some time with the wide tracking settings. I've spent a little bit there, and I haven't really noticed a difference. If you have tips and suggestions, love to hear them. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to the rant. Oh no, that was the rant. Let's move on to the rave. So the thing I want to rave about, also connected to Fujifilm, is the XF 16 to 80 millimeter lens, which is almost always on my camera. It's my daily driver. It's the lens I use the most. And again, I got an opportunity to experience how much I like this lens. It's so flexible, it's versatile, and it's, I think, really good image quality. So here's the situation where I've got a new appreciation for this lens. At Kenmore Camera, I've switched roles, as you may or may not know. I'm now in the back. I call it the cave. It's an office space off of one of our storage areas. My job is to create content for Instagram, Facebook, and soon, hopefully, YouTube. Another story. Anyway, so one of the first things I wanted to dig into is we have a really unique camera in the store. It's a Leica Q2 007 edition. So only 250 were made. It's got a whole bunch of custom stuff. It comes with a suitcase. It's really, really cool. So one of the things I wanted to do was create some photos that were more sophisticated, showing that camera in all its bits and pieces. It's a really cool camera. So if you know someone who wants to buy a unique camera, I'll leave the link for that down below as well. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the photos. What worked really well, I think, using the 16 to 80 millimeter here. I was again reminded how versatile the 16 to 80 millimeter is in these photos, and I'm really pleased with how they turn out. So let's take a look at those photos next. So the situation was, this is set up in one of our classrooms. It's just some black seamless paper, 2 of the Nanlite Pavo Tube 6Cs, which are the lights that are in my background here in this video. And that's all I'm using for lights. Sometimes the camera's on a tripod. A lot of times I did handheld just because I can move a little faster. I knew I wanted some wide shots. I knew I wanted some detail shots. So the wide and the relatively close focusing ability of the 16 to 80, that's where I started. And it's the lens I used for all these photos. And I'm really, really pleased with how they turn out. The quality, I think, is great. It tells the story of this camera and this the uniqueness of it. Just playing a little bit with light angles to get the reflections right. The one on the left, that Leica cap, is pretty complicated. The finish on the 007 logo there on the camera, it was a little tricky, but it was a nice challenge. So this camera, as I mentioned, does come with a suitcase by a company called Globetrotter. It's a custom green color. It's really cool. How many cameras come with a suitcase? It's kind of fun, kind of special. And inside, there's got all these neat little details. So these photos, I hope, do a nice job of telling the story of this very special and unique camera. I had fun doing it, and it's really cool to do it with a camera I've been using for almost 3 years, with a lens I've had for a couple years that's very versatile, nothing fancy-ish, and yeah, using Fujifilm to sell an $8,900 Leica camera. Shh, don't tell anybody. By the way, autofocus worked just fine in that situation. It's quick, quiet, accurate, and 0 problems in that situation. So that's usually my life with autofocus on Fujifilm, except when I do birds. Okay, so rant and rave over. Let's do a little bit of an update. Again, my life has changed as far as my work situation. I'm now working 3 days a week doing social media stuff and design things for Kenmore Camera. So that changes the rhythm of my days and weeks. I'm not 100% sure, again, how this is going to affect my time to create videos here on YouTube. I do know that it'll probably change the type of videos I make. I'll still do street photography videos, but they'll be much less frequent. I'll probably do more of these kind of thinky, talky videos, kind of, again, a la what Sean Tucker does. Think of me as Sean Tucker light from America. So anyway, that's my thought. So one of the things I also wanted to do was maximize the efficiency of when I post videos. Because I'll be doing it less frequency, it's important to be as effective in the videos I do post. And one of the things that helps videos be successful in the sense of getting eyeballs on it and getting views is the velocity of when people view it. So the sooner people view it from when it's released helps it be more successful. So I've asked some questions on Instagram and YouTube about when y'all want to watch the videos, day of the week and time of day. Here's the results. So pretty consistent here, both between YouTube and Instagram. I don't know if some of you voted in both places. If you did, thank you very much. But I was surprised that weekdays were the primary time that people prefer to watch YouTube videos. So first thing I'm going to do is move my publish date to the weekday, which I'm doing in this video. So I'm going to try starting with Wednesdays. That's going to be my day for video launches. The second question I asked was time of day. When do you like to watch videos? This one, I've got some different results between the two sources. So YouTube is mostly morning with a little leaning between the combo of afternoon and evening, while Instagram is pretty heavily leaning towards evening. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do here. What I think I'm going to do is, this video I'm going to launch at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. We'll start there. I used to do 9 a.m. on Sundays, so I'm not going to do 9 a.m. on Wednesdays Pacific time. Let's see how it goes. If you have, again, thoughts, feedback, welcome to receive that very much. Thank you. So we'll see. I might play around with time. I might do a little bit of testing and try 6 p.m. on a Wednesday Pacific time and see how that goes as well. Again, who knows? It's all an experiment. We'll find this out. Thanks for your participation, cooperation, and helping me out here. I really appreciate it. When I'm not here, I am still on the social medias, especially Instagram is my main place I post photos. So on Instagram, you can find me at mslaticphoto. I'll be posting there a little more regularly. I just completed a 75-day series from Election Day in the U.S. to Inauguration Day in the U.S. of photos that reflect my thoughts and feelings. I think I'm going to make a book out of that. I don't know if it's going to happen before or after my next zine, but I got things to do, which is exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. You can also follow, if you're interested, my adventures at Kenmore Camera. That Instagram account is at @kcamera. If you know anybody who has a Sony camera, we have a pretty cool Sony photo contest going on. Link in description. Yeah, so there you go on that. So that's what's happening in my life. Lots of things going on, lots of changes. I hope your new year is going well. I hope you're able to get out and make some photos. I'm going to show you some photos from the garden, that frosty morning, which was for me last week. I didn't do any video. I really just wanted to enjoy the photo experience. And this was a really great reminder of going out to make photos when it's maybe not real comfortable. It was chilly, and it's not obvious to go make photos in a garden in winter. I mean, everything's kind of dried up. There's not a lot of the pretty flowers, but the frost changes everything. The atmosphere can change all the things that you would normally photograph and now photograph some different things. Plus the sun came out, so we got some backlight, some really cool things. The hummingbirds. Oh, it was just a neat day. So it was fun to have a camera in hand again. It had been a little while. So I'll be planning to do more of that. So this video is going a little longer than I thought. Apologies. Thanks for hanging in there. The photos that I'm going to show you, plus some additional ones, will be on my website. So if you'd like to see that, again, I'll leave a link down below for that. As always, I'm so grateful for your participation in helping this channel do what it's doing, and I'm enjoying it so very, very much. If you have thoughts, comments, suggestions you'd like to add to this conversation on this video, please leave them down below. As always, like the video if you did that. The moment you take to click that button is a big help to get this video out to maybe some other people who would not see it otherwise. So thank you also for that. Okay, I'm done talking for now. I'm going to show you some photos in a minute. And before I do that, I'm going to do my goodbye and say I hope you stay safe, stay well, and have fun creating photos. Bye for now, but watch the photos.